Arab Emirates and to the Sultanate of Oman. The President has arrived back home after paying a brief visit to the two brotherly countries of the United Arab Emirates and the Sultanate of Oman in visits that expressed Egypt's full solidarity with its Arab brothers in the midst of the current conditions that the region is passing by. His Excellency was received by Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan in the United Arab Emirates and expressed Egypt's full solidarity with the UAE in the face of the Iranian attacks and in the midst of the difficult situation the region is passing through, and also talked about Egypt's aims and efforts in trying to reach a peaceful settlement to the crisis in the region. And also in Oman, His Excellency the President was met by the Sultan of Oman, Haytham bin Tariq, where the two countries expressed their keenness on continuing to find a diplomatic solution and a peaceful settlement to the current crises the region is facing, especially the U.S.-Iran standoff and also the Israel-Lebanon situation. So His Excellency the President is back home after the brief visits he paid to the United Arab Emirates and to the Sultanate of Oman on Thursday. Now updating you on the latest developments happening in the U.S.-Iran standoff. A lot is happening late on Thursday. There was an exchange of fire in and around the Strait of Hormuz. And the United States said it took defensive strikes in what it called defensive strikes in retaliation to the Iranian attacks, while the Iranians said that they only attacked the American destroyers after the U.S. attacked Iran's own oil tankers. So updating you on that situation and on Iran's awaited response to the American offer for a resumption of negotiations. That's why U.S. President Donald Trump suspended, after all, the so-called Freedom Project in the Strait of Hormuz. And also a lot is happening in Lebanon. Israel hit today, or yesterday actually, the suburbs of southern Beirut for the first time since the ceasefire took place. So deal or no deal, that is the question. Ceasefire or no ceasefire, that is another question. And with us now to answer those questions is Dr. Paul Davis, the military, economic and strategic expert who is a professor at the Institute of World Politics. And Dr. Davis is speaking to us from Washington, D.C. Dr. Davis, good evening, and thank you as always for joining Nile TV International.
Well, thank you very much for having me. However, your transmission is very garbled.
Thank you, Dr. Davis, for being with us. Now, sir, very important developments, surprising maybe, happening on this Thursday, especially after, optimism rose that a potential deal could be reached, and the U.S. President expressed his optimism that a deal could be reached very soon. But the exchange of fire in and around the Strait of Hormuz, how did you see that?
I'm sorry, your transmission is so garbled I can hardly hear you.
Okay, I'm going to repeat the question again. And we're having, yes, difficult technical problems. Dr. Davis is not hearing us very well. So maybe we'll try this again. And if it's not possible, maybe we can hang up and then call Dr. Davis again. Dr. Davis, do you hear me now? Can you translate what I'm saying? Okay. So we did hang up. We're trying to fix the technical problem here and get back to our dear distinguished guest from Washington, D.C. And as we said, dear viewers, there was an exchange of fire in and around the Strait of Hormuz, and we're getting different stories from the warring sides, and at the same time, we are awaiting an Iranian response to the American offer about peace talks and another 30 days of ceasefire. And we'll also be looking ahead to U.S. President Donald Trump's trip to China and ask our guests how could that trip be decisive in the developments of the U.S.-Iran standoff, and we'll be looking into what's happening in Lebanon regarding the Israel-Lebanon situation, as the U.S. is saying that it expects a high representation in a third round of talks between Lebanon and Israel to happen soon. Maybe next week. This is at a time when the U.S. President and the Israeli Prime Minister are reported to be in daily contacts, and we don't know to what extent is Washington trying to handcuff the Israeli actions in Lebanon and the Israeli violations of the ceasefire in Lebanon. So again, we'll try to get back our dear guest from Washington with us over the phone. Do we have Dr. Davis now with us? So, an exchange of fire in and around the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, I think we've got back. Yes, Dr. Davis, can you hear me now? Good evening. Hello?
Let's try it anyhow.
Okay, is it better at least? Are we better now? Dr. Davis?
No, there's still a lot of background noise. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm just going to try to put the question forward, and hopefully that you can catch whatever you can, and just we want to listen to your expert opinion on what's happening in and around the Strait of Hormuz at the moment. The exchange of fire between the United States and Iran in the Strait of Hormuz. How do you see that development, and how does it threaten the talks that everybody is looking forward to, the negotiations and the Iranian response to the latest American offer?
I think what you're asking me about is about right now the operations going on in the Strait of Hormuz and the exchange of gunfire
Correct.
between the United States Navy and Iran.
Correct.
Apparently, the situation is that Iran was firing on U.S. naval ships, or U.S. naval ships were firing against it. The return fire from the U.S. Navy was designed to suppress what Iran was doing. It's not a break in the ceasefire, at least according to the United States. There was additional operations where U.S. fired on shore batteries and naval assets in Iran. Again, this is impressive, but it's not a break in the ceasefire.
Right. Dr. Davis, in your view, how much does that incident threaten the atmosphere of the so-called atmosphere of optimism that now the world is waiting for now, as we are waiting for an Iranian response to the latest American offer or conditions for talks?
I don't think it threatens the conditions of the talks at all, at least from the United States side. The United States still has a desire to come to some kind of a peaceful resolution. My fear is there's still a problem between the civilian and military leadership in Iran, and that one faction or the other is trying to sabotage the talks. And I don't know if this is going to happen or not. I mean, as far as the United States is concerned, the talks are still forthcoming, and they will continue to move forward. And we're still waiting for Iranian response to President Trump's proposals.
Right. Dr. Davis, why is it that we get the feeling that each of the sides, I mean, America and Iran, don't want the ball? Every time Iran throws the ball in, America throws the ball in Iran's court, like when Mr. Vance left Pakistan after those 21-hour marathon talks, Iran tries to throw back the ball in America's court, and then the U.S. throws it back. Why is it that each side seemingly doesn't want to have that hot ball?
Okay, again, you're a little pretty garbled, but from what I can gather, the question is why is every time we seem to be reaching a solution, something interferes with it?
Yes.
That's a question I can't answer. I think one of the problems is that we have a cultural problem here, whereas the United States is trying for a peaceful resolution by giving, opening a gate, opening a pathway toward resolution. And I think Iran sees this as weakness and is now responding using force to try to improve their bargaining position. Both sides don't understand the other, and this is what's happening. And this is why maybe we do need another third party. I don't know if Pakistan is the correct one. Maybe we should return to Geneva. Maybe we should return to Oman. But there's obviously a major communications problem between the United States and Iran.
Yes. Of course, also Egypt, Turkey, and others are mediating here. And that's why it seems we are running around in circles, Dr. Davis. We are running around in circles. Again, each side, no one wants the ball. Each side wants to put the blame on the other and wants to put the pressure on the other side and wants to convince the whole world that the other side is at fault. And nobody wants to take the initiative. Every side is throwing the ball in the other's court, as it seems. Every time.
No, this is true. I mean, and this is part of any negotiation at any time in diplomacy, is that each side is going to try to get some type of advantage over the other.
Yes.
But at this point, somewhere along the line in those types of negotiations, there's got to be a give and take. But right now, there's no give. There's only take on both sides.
Yes.
Which is delaying the process.
Yes. What do you think, Dr. Davis, are the sticking points? We understand that the latest offer, I mean, those are media leaks, mere leaks, that we would have a suspension of Iranian uranium enrichment for a period of 12 years maybe, or no less than 12 years, or the Iranian 60% enriched uranium will get out of the country. We don't know if it will go to the U.S. or a third party, probably a third party. We haven't heard anything about Iran's ballistic missile program. So what are the sticking points at the moment in your view, sir?
The sticking points are basically the United States has drawn one major red line, and that is that Iran will never achieve a nuclear weapon. Now, on the other side, Iran is saying they have a right to enrich uranium. But enriching uranium to 60% goes well beyond their declared goal of using it for medical and reactor, which only requires no more than 5% enrichment. So the fear on the United States and on the world side is that the only reason to go to 60% is to build a nuclear weapon. Now, we talked about the ballistic missiles. Iran has said in the past that they're only using intermediate range missiles basically to attack Israel. Yet we now know that they have intercontinental ballistic missiles, probably a design given to them by North Korea. We saw this on a firing at the U.S. naval facilities in Diego Garcia, which means that they may have missiles that can reach at least southern Europe, if not all of Europe. So if they develop a nuclear device and they have a missile that can reach Europe, we have a major problem. And we have a country in Iran that has shown no problem with just immediately opening up and firing. Second problem we have is we know that the second Iran has a nuclear weapon, they're going to fire it at Israel. There's not going to be any questions. There's not going to be demands. They're going to fire it at Israel. And that's something the United States and, quite honestly, the world cannot continent.
Now, okay, so do you think that if that uranium issue is solved, then things would proceed forward in a good way? Or maybe this is what the Iranians fear, that if they make concessions regarding the uranium issue, then the ballistic missile issue will rise to the surface. Then the issue of the proxies, Hezbollah and others. Then they will have their frozen assets, frozen for a while. Then they will not see the sanctions lifted in an appropriate time, and so on. So maybe it's the issue of mistrust. Maybe the Iranians are ready to make that concession, but they don't trust that that this would lead to an end to the war and would solve everything, because they think that the Americans are not talking about the other things for now, but will elevate them to the top of the surface later, to make for another war. What do you think?
Again, the United States has no designs on Iran. Israel, in fact, has no designs on Iran, other than to remove them as a threat to peace in the region. Let's be serious. Let's see where most of the problems have arisen. We can talk about Israel attacking Gaza and Lebanon and so on and so forth, but these have all been responsive to attacks on Israel. And Iran is the center of it all. Iran controls Hamas. Iran controls Hezbollah. Iran controls the Houthis. It all goes back to Tehran. If Tehran could simply say, all we want is peaceful relations, we don't want the destruction of another country, then all of the problems go away. They don't need nuclear weapons. They don't need ballistic missiles. Israel doesn't need to maintain a massive military presence. And of course, this is a lot of thinking pie in the sky kind of stuff, and it may or may not happen. But this is the situation. The world has to believe that Iran is not going to be an attacking force. And unfortunately, when we look at Iran and we look at the theocracy and we look at the way that they have operated, they're looking for end of days. They're looking to cause some kind of a major uprising.
Sir, of course, nothing would justify acts of genocide or war crimes. And this is what Israel did specifically in Gaza. But why is it, and we have to discuss this, that we assume that history began from the 23rd of October, from the 7th of October, 2023, or that it began from February 11th, 1979. History began before that. And many countries here in the region and many countries around the world believe that it is Israel, more than Iran, that is the main source of instability and insecurity in the region. And because there is no just solution to the Palestinian cause way before the Islamic Revolution and of Iran and way before October 7th. This is why things are unstable and insecure in the region. Once we have a viable, independent Palestinian state and a just solution to the Palestinian cause, everything will be solved in the region and everybody will live happily ever after. Why doesn't the U.S. look at that point of view?
We can go back to 1948.
And before that. Yeah, and even before that. Yeah.
And when the Arabs were offered more land than Israel was. The Jews were offered a smaller portion of the Palestinian mandate than the Arabs were. And the Arabs refused and rejected it and attacked. And the Arabs, every time they've attacked, they've lost more and more land. And then they come up with, well, you know, we need to return the Palestinians to Palestinian lands.
Right, it is their right, sir.
You know,
I mean,
they've been offered
these are United Nations resolution, United Nations Security Council resolutions. Just implement the UN Security Council resolutions 338, 425, and you name it, and you go down the line. The last of which is 2803. And still Israel is breaching the ceasefire and breaching in Gaza and breaching 2803. Sir, China, Mr. Trump's visit to China, how likely do you think it's going to play a role in solving or complicating the Iran situation?
Well, at this point, we're looking at a situation where Israel has been attacked so many times, they don't believe there is a peaceful resolution with a two-state solution. Quite honestly, neither do the Palestinians. The Palestinians aren't asking for a two-state solution. They're asking for the dissolution of Israel. And Iran is backing this up. Iran is the one that's trying to destroy Israel. In the intervening 70-something years, ultimately, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, all the other countries, Syria, have come to the conclusion that they can live peacefully with Israel. However,
yes.
We haven't seen this. Iran is continuing to try for the total destruction of the state of Israel and is supporting these proxy terrorists.
Right, but Palestinians are not looking for that. Palestinians, I forgot, of course, I shouldn't have. I forgot Security Council Resolution 242. That's the first of them. So we have 242, 338, 425, 2803, and others. Now, Palestinians just want a viable and independent state, borders of June 4th, 1967, with East Jerusalem, Al-Quds, as its capital. They don't want to see Israel go away. They just want their rights to be restored. Sir, I was asking you about Mr. Trump's visit to China and his expected meeting with the Chinese president in a week's time or so. How do you think this big meeting between two of the most powerful men in the world will help solve the Iran situation?
I think right now President Xi is playing a very strong card. He has indicated that they're not going to agree to the sanctions against Iran, and they want to continue to deal with it. Obviously, 90% of Iranian oil had gone to China, which encompassed 40% of Chinese power consumption. China right now is not in a hurting position. They had a 3 to 4 month oil reserve. I think what's going to happen is when Trump gets to talking to Xi, Xi's going to say, all right, you want us to support your situation in Iran? The United States is going to have to be then a supplier of oil to China at a discounted price. This is my personal belief. I have no proof of this. There's nothing that says it's true. But this is just something I think is probably going to be part of the conversation.
Okay. So do you think the Chinese or the Russians will help bring an end to the Iran situation? Because sometimes we feel that Iran and the United States, they both want an end to this conflict. They both want so. Maybe Israel is the only party that doesn't want to see a peaceful settlement of the issue.
I kind of think, and again, I think Iran really does not want to see an end to the conflict. They are using this to extend, or what they think they can do is extend the revolution.
Okay.
I've heard from several people that I know in the region that we have to remember that we cannot deal with Iran as a country. Iran as a concept, it's a revolution. They want to use as much violence as they can to extend it. They may be using as much violence as they can to cause what in the 12er religion, they may be trying to force the end of days and wait for the 12th, the hidden Imam, to rise up and destroy Israel. This is just speculation on my part, and I don't think most of Iranians believe that, but I do believe that much of the leadership in Iran does. So as much as they say they want an end to the conflict, they're not really moving toward that end.
Yeah, and if that is the case, then Israel publicly speaks about, you know, the final, the end of times as well, and their own belief of, you know, having that that final fight, or the end of times, the war, or whatever. That's an Israeli belief. So this is why this is such a dangerous situation, or at least the belief of those who rule Israel at the moment, the rightist extremist government in Israel. So one final question about Lebanon. Do you think that the atmosphere allows for the own Netanyahu meeting in Washington that has been called for by Mr. Trump anytime in the near future? And do we really have a ceasefire in Lebanon at the moment?
The problem I have with Lebanon, there is no problem between Israel and Beirut. The Lebanese government and the Israeli government really aren't fighting each other. The problem is Hezbollah. Beirut does not control Hezbollah. Beirut does not control the southern portion of their own country. There is still a number of munitions factories inside of Beirut, and this is, I think, what Israel has been hitting. They've got to stop. They've got to stop hitting civilian inside of Beirut. And it comes down to, can Beirut then, can the government of Lebanon take control of the Hezbollah operations inside of Beirut, and then allow something else? Somewhere along the line, Hezbollah has got to be disarmed.
Right.
Lebanon can't do it. Israel can't do it by itself.
Right.
I don't think Lebanon and Israel can actually come together and in a joint force.
Right.
So something else has got to come in. And you and I have talked about this before.
Yes.
It could be Syria that could help. It could be France that could help.
Absolutely.
But there's got to be other forces in there. And
Absolutely.
it cannot be Lebanon and Israel.
Absolutely. And again, back to another Security Council resolution, which will be very helpful, 1701. So we mentioned a lot of numbers today. And by the way, if we apply those UN Security Council, if we implement those UN Security Council resolutions dating from back from 242 to 2803, everything will be fine, and everybody will live happily together.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
So hopefully there's a resolution. I'm not all hopeful, but something's going to happen.
All right. We'll leave it at that, and we'll be waiting for another call with you, dear sir, as we continue to follow up the developments of the U.S.-Iran standoff and the Israel-Lebanon situation. Thank you very much, as always.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure to talk to you, sir. That's Dr. Paul Davis, the military economic and strategic expert, the professor at the Institute of World Politics, talking to us from Washington, D.C. In a minute, we'll be back with 9 News. Please don't go far.